first off, we'll need ½ cup or 115 grams of active sourdough starter, 1 cup or 235 grams of 80 to 85 degree non-chlorinated water, 2 tablespoons or 23 grams of pure honey, 2 teaspoons or 10 grams of salt, 4 cups or 555 grams of unbleached all-purpose flour, a spatula, a scale, and also we'll need a mixer. You could do this by hand, but I prefer a mixer and a dough hook. All right, let's get started. So I have my mixer with my dough hook and my bowl firmly secured into my mixer, and I added my water. Next up, I'm going to add my starter. I like to add my water first just so my starter doesn't stick to the bottom of my bowl so much. I've added my starter. Next up, I'm going to add my honey. I've added my salt, and now I'm going to just put my mixer down and put it onto low just to blend that up a little bit. This is what we're working with now, and I'm going to add my flour next. I'm only going to add half of the 4 cups right now. I have about half on there, and now I'm going to blend this until my mixer has mixed most of it in, and then I'll start to add a little bit more. So you can see it's still very sandy. That's okay. This isn't bread dough. This is bagel dough. That's just fine. Now, if you're at the 5-minute mark and it's still really sandy and dry, you can add another tablespoon or 2 of warm water, not hot, but you can add another tablespoon or 2 of water and turn it back on to go. Okay, I'm at about 8 minutes now, and my dough, although it's fully incorporated, it's still not very smooth. It still has clumps in it, so I'm just gonna put it going for another couple minutes on low. So at the 8-minute mark, 9-minute mark, I removed the dough, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get my hands on it to see exactly what's going on. And if this is how you're gonna do it with kneading it, because your mixer's getting overheated or because this is just what you prefer, that's fine too. So in order to knead, I'm going to fold it on top of itself in half. I'm going to push, and then I'm going to give it a quarter turn, fold it in half, and push. You can see that it's getting a little bit smoother. I like to knead it probably another 1 or 2 minutes, just so it's a little bit more pliable. So at the 10-minute mark, and after I've kneaded it, you can tell that it's getting a lot more pliable, much smoother. If you were to do this in your mixer, it would have done the exact same thing and look the exact same. There's not really any difference with your dough hook. So I'm just going to put this back into my mixer bowl, and I'm gonna cover it up with either plastic wrap or beeswax wrap. I have it covered with my plastic wrap now, and I'm just gonna let this sit in the bowl for 8 to 10 hours. If I wanted to speed up the process a little bit, I could put it in my oven with just the oven light on or in a warm place of my house. During the time that my bagels are rising, I'm gonna start on my filling so the flavors can come together. I have a block or 8 ounces of cream cheese, an onion. I'll slice that jalapeno in half. I have my 4 pieces of bacon, chopped and cooked, must be cooked, and my large bowl. If you're unfamiliar with how to cut up a jalapeno, what I do is I take a sharp knife and I split it down the center. I'm not cutting the whole way through. I'm just cutting through the outer layer like this. Then I can open it up, and most of the seeds stay on one side. Then I just take a spoon and just gently scrape out the seeds. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other side. This keeps it from getting the hot oil underneath my fingernails, because that's not pleasant for anyone. I have chopped my jalapeno and my onion, and I already have my bacon reserved, and I have my cream cheese in the bowl. So I'm just going to pour all of my bacon in, And I'm going to pour my onion in. I'm going to mix that. Now there's someone in my household that does not like jalapenos, so I'm going to mix this as it is and then take some out for them, and then I can add the jalapeno to the rest of it for the rest of us. For each bagel, I'm going to need filling that is about one of these scoops, which is 1.5 tablespoons. So for the 2 that I'm going to reserve of the 8, I'm going to take out 2 scoops of this before I add my jalapenos. I have my 2 servings reserved now, and I'm going to add my jalapenos however much I want. You can chop them however coarse you want, or smaller will spread out the flavor. And I'm going to add that and mix that in. So now that I have everything mixed in, the last thing I'm going to do, or not do, it's up to you entirely, is to add salt and pepper to your liking. The nice thing about this is if you have 8 ounces of cream cheese, you could really change this into anything. You could put some cheddar in it, you could put some smoked Colby in there, or add in other flavors like thyme or rosemary and make it a lot more savory. This is just our favorite. So you feel free to change it up however you like. Now I have it covered up with plastic wrap, and I'm gonna put it into the fridge until my bagels are done. Okay, it's been about 8 hours. We have definitely doubled. Sometimes I make it and it's all the way up if I've let it sit overnight. I'm just gonna empty this out onto a floured surface. So you're gonna have a little bit left in here, so just take a scraper or your fingers and just get all that out. That's all usable dough. So what I'm left with is some really firm dough. This is not like normal bread dough, anything like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna shape it into a square or a circle, however you wanna do it. I'm going to divide this into 8 pieces. So that's 2. Now I have 4. If I cut it one more time, I have 8. It doesn't have to be exact. So one person in our family has a dairy allergy, so I'm not gonna be filling hers. So we're just going to roll this out. And rejoin it. Now it works better if you don't have a whole bunch of flour on there. If you have flour on there, just add a little bit of water, or you can just kind of roll it, twist it, make it into a ring, and then set it onto your parchment paper. Take another triangle, another 1/8, and I'm just going to basically try to make it into a puck, or anything that I can roll around itself. And then remember our filling from earlier, my filling that's been sitting in the fridge, waiting for this process to be done. I'm going to take a 1.5 tablespoons, roughly, place it into the middle, and then I'm going to fold the edges up and over. And then I'm just gonna roll it around and tuck it and just kind of overlap itself onto itself like this. Pinch the bottoms a little bit, and then I take it, flip it over, not too much flour this time, just kind of roll it around like so. And then I'm going to put that onto my parchment paper, and I'm going to let that rise for 1 to 4 hours. So as you're rolling these out, or thumbing them out, or just spreading them out in your hands, you want to make sure that you don't have too much flour on the other side. So clear your baking area. Like I said, it is firm dough, and I have a stack of all of mine here, so I can just stack them up. And if you want, if you're concerned with it being even with all of your filling, just spread them out. Make sure it's not having too much flour, because the flour is going to keep it from sticking. So just make sure that each one, you can set it out, not too much flour. Okay, so now I know that I can fill each of mine evenly and put one in the middle of each one of these. And if I have extra, then I can spread it out evenly. So now you can see that I still have some left over for the one person that wanted without jalapenos. So I'm actually going to have to split this up more evenly, and that's one good reason about doing it this way and having them all open and ready to be filled. So now you can see they're all filled or at least distributed, and now I'm going to start wrapping them up. So I'm just going to pull that up over the top. Pinching it together, and again flipping it back over onto a less floured surface area. I'm just going to roll it under my fingers for a little bit, and I'm going to put it back onto my cookie sheet. Now, if you have one that is for someone that does not like jalapenos, like this one, or something else that it's a different filling, you're going to want to make sure that you don't poke the top to mark it, but you're going to want to find a spot or a different cookie sheet or a different spot to sit it so you can pay attention, because until it's baked, there's not going to be any real way of marking the outside unless you put a different seasoning on the outside or something. I want to explain exactly what's happening. Whenever I flip it over from pulling it together and I'm rubbing it in my hands, I'm going to turn it basically like this. You can actually feel the cream cheese on the inside, so you can squish it into a nice little round ball and just turn it like that to seal the edges a little bit. So now I'm going to cover them with a damp tea towel, or I can put plastic wrap and put them into a warm spot. Not hot, just warm. We're waiting for these to get puffy, and then we'll go on to our boiling water and baking. It has been a few hours and they are risen, nice and fluffy, and I have my water on the stove boiling and my oven preheated to 425. Next up, I'm gonna load up one of these bad boys onto my handy dandy slotted spoon and dip it right down into the boiling water for 1 minute, flip it, and then 1 minute again and take it out. Just to show you what the bottom looks like, it comes off the parchment paper really easily, and it is very well come together on the bottom. They baked 25 minutes or even 20 minutes and got this nice golden brown color to them. I cannot tell you how good our kitchen smells right now. It is amazing.